right, Kay. I know that you got a couple of retro emulation devices on hand, right? I know
I
that
do.
you. Oh, okay, okay. So let me ask you a question. Have you ever heard of a company called Anbernic?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. They are the name in gaming when it comes specifically to stuff like handheld devices, when it comes to, your retro emulation back in the day kind of stuff. Yes.
Right. So what I have pulled up here is the Anbernic RG405VK. All right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I have been in the hunt for the longest time because you know that I'm weird this way, that I'm always looking for the perfect gaming solution, because in my head nothing is ever the perfect gaming solution. There's never an all-in-one, right?
Sure.
And I've been looking for something to really get that 4x3 content on, like, to get it to a place where it just takes me back, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I can comfortably say that if there's any freaks out there, pause, okay, that are looking for something like that, this is your device right here. The
Okay. Tell me about it.
RG405V. Okay.
Okay.
I ordered this last week. I got it on Saturday. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Took me about 20-30 minutes to set it up, with my ROMs and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, this thing, obviously it's what's known as a vertical handheld, because it kind of
Portrait
replicates
mode.
Yes, it kind of replicates the OG Game Boy, of course,
Mm-hmm.
from
Mm-hmm.
our day. And Kay, let me tell you, man, this thing is amazing. Just amazing at playing your 16-bit content, your 8-bit content. It's powerful enough to do some light GameCube emulation and some
GameCube. Wow.
and some light PS2 emulation, but this is not the device for that, right? If you want to play N64 up to PS1 and N64, I would
Mm-hmm.
say that you're going to have about 100% compatibility across the board there. When you start
Okay.
going up to your GameCubes of the world, that's when the chip isn't powerful enough. But what I will tell you is that this 4-inch IPS is a touchscreen, okay? And the resolution is kind of low on it. Like, if you see the
Okay.
specs, it's 640 by 480. But I can tell you, man, that the colors pop on this thing, okay? Things like Super Nintendo games, like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Turtles in Time. All of the classics that you've played, Spawn,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Maximum Carnage, your Batman Returns of the world. All those games, man, play beautifully on this device, and it's a nice change of pace to these more powerful handhelds that we have. That, look, I'm a fan of power. We all are, right? But there's something special about going back, and this is simple. You turn it on. It's Android based. You turn it on and you just go. You just have at it. Pick your game. It saves the state, and then you move on to your next. And of course, you can unlock your retro achievements and all that stuff that you can set up. Amazing device, dude. And I'm super excited
So
that we're going to be talking
my
about
question.
emulation tonight.
Here's my question. How is the UI? Because that to me, like, these games live and die. These systems, I should say, live and die by their user interface.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so the UI, it's very, Anbernic gives you their own type of UI that I forgot what it's called. I think it's called oh man, I forgot the name of it, but it comes with a custom UI that they do. But here's the beauty, okay, that I'm learning about our topic that we're going to go into later on, but about Android and ARM. Guess what? You don't have to live with that. If you don't like it, you can download any front load software that you want, like Digisho that we've seen Retro Game Corps kind of put out there, Launchbox, etc. Whatever's on Android, K, you can do it. That's the beauty of these devices.
Yeah. I myself am using something similar. So I have the Rocket, the basically the Retroid Pocket 2. This is before Retroid got good, just so you know.
Okay.
So with the 2S and onward, I think they're up to the Retro Pocket 4 now.
Yes,
They're
at the
now,
4.
yeah, now they're like great user interface. They have touchscreen devices. Their devices are becoming, they're almost becoming like a different manufacturer on their own. Like they have their own niche, their own genre, their own special sauce they put in their devices, right? Before that time, during the Retroid 1 and Retroid 2 times, they were basically a hack shop, right?
Oh,
now I say that not necessarily being like hating on it, for example, but I say that to say, like, you would get stuff you shouldn't in a good way, if you know what I mean.
I mean, we like that.
So let me explain what I mean to you, right? So these things live and die by their front ends, right? And ever since Retroid 2S, as you can see in their list there, you actually probably would see that they don't even sell the 2 anymore. It's only 2S and onward, right?
Okay.
Because they started giving you a new front end. They started having custom Android that people could like jump in and go, oh wow, this is a separate environment, separate identity, right? But before the 2S, on the 2, they had 2 environments. One was standard Android 12 or 10, or I think it's Android 10, as you can see here. Like old Android,
yes,
non-touchscreen,
yes,
non-touchscreen, right? And then when you, and obviously in this realm, you could run whatever you wanted to run. The screen is a little too small for something like, let's say, Game Pass, so you couldn't do that. But they also had a different environment. Now I'm booting to that environment right now, where it is still Android, but it's not your standard desktop. It's not your standard use case. It is a custom variant where they have a store and emulators. Now,
nice.
what is that? What do I mean by this? The store is built in, and the store is zero pay.
Oh, wow.
So any game that can work on here, and it's like, I think their server is somewhere in some Asian country, you can just go download whatever you want. Like, it's just right there. You just do it, right?
That's cool.
And they're attached to all those emulators in the background. So when you hit play, you are playing, right? You're not messing with the emulators. You don't even know what emulators you're running because it just obscures all of that. Let me show you that. Look. So this is the other front end. And yes, what you're seeing there is a demo of some games.
There you go. Yep.
Right? Look at the demos of the games, right? I'm going through, this is a Killer Instinct you just see on the screen here from Mario 64, Street Fighter, right? And they're all from their app store that you can download. And actually, I can actually even pull up the app store. Like, it is a app store for free apps, and you can see what's trending, see who's downloading. They have categories, as in like arcade, meme category, all these other things, right? But of course, obviously, as you can imagine, authorities would most likely frown upon this kind of endeavor.
Of course, you know. So
and as such, as
make
they got
sure you back
popular,
up your own games.
Exactly. As they gotten popular, they dropped all of this, and now they have their great user interface. But when you get it, you get no real games. When this came out, it literally came with thousands of like ROMs, which is not necessary. And to be fair to them, right? Even Nintendo themselves released ROMs to their little mini consoles that ended up being like stolen from the internet. So they themselves are susceptible to this as well. But yes, my Retroid 2 is the last of a dying breed, there was lawlessness during when this was made.
I'll give you guys a hint, right? So this it's kind of hard to see there, but right here, this is remember the arcade game on the CPS3 Aliens versus Predator?
Yeah, AVP, yeah.
Yep, all those old Capcom arcade games run beautifully on this thing. And I mean, it's not a hard game to run or anything like that, but it's just incredible how when I first started looking at reviews, because like I said, okay, I'm on the hunt for like a couple of things to kind of complete my gaming collection, right? And I wanted something that made me feel like I did when I was younger, and I would play, you know, my SNES on my 4x3 TV, and it like, I know that obviously I have an Asus ROG Ally. This is first world problems. John, why would you buy something if you have that? Here's the thing. I don't like the black bars. And I know that you can put, custom wallpapers around that, and you can customize it. You can make it look all nice and fancy. It zones me out, and I'm not enjoying it. Like I've tried and I've tried and I've tried, and there's something about horizontal handhelds for me that with 4x3 content, I'm not enjoying. It's kind of weird because in my mind, like I'm playing and I just want to play something, I guess you can say more up to date on that device, right?
Okay.
And when I have something like this, like yesterday we went out to dinner, right? And I knew I put this in my pocket and I was just playing, a bunch of, older games from my youth, and it was a wonderful time. It was fantastic. What do you got there?
Oh, I'm while you're talking, I'm regaling us with some of the games from my youth. This is Tomb Raider 3.
There you
on
go.
PSX running right here.
There you go. I'm sorry, it's hard to see on mine because my camera's all over the place. But
yeah, man, I think it's okay, right?
Let me tell you, first of all, Kay, I want to welcome everyone in the chat. Welcome to Gamers Playground. I believe we are on episode 23 that we're calling Emulation Kings because I did so much research this weekend, Kay. All right, and this piggybacks. All right, I'm going to promote us a little bit here. This piggybacks on a conversation that we had on Friday. Instead of working, we were on our Discord. Okay.
Hey, now, right? I don't know what you're talking about. Speak for yourself. I was working hard.
I can multitask. Okay, but it piggybacks off our Discord, guys, which I'm going to put the link right now for you guys. If you haven't joined it, we really, really recommend that you do because we have some good, not only do we have amazing community members in there, right? But we also have very knowledgeable people in there. All right. Yep. And it's some of the names that you see here in our chat every week. You got Kay Asante. You have myself throwing some messiness in there and always trying to have fun with everyone. But overall, guys, there's the link. Join our Discord. One thing
hold on.
Sure.
Not just let's not skip over the Discord here. Let's put a little bit of more meat on these bones.
Sure.
Here.
Yeah.
Go ahead. The Discord, specifically for Gamers Playground members, we have a specific section just for those who choose to join us from the Gamers Playground crew. We have places where we could talk PCMR. We have places where experiments can be had. I've put up a section where anytime any new games are out there and are free, our server will notify you of it. So anytime Epic Games releases something, the Twitch store releases something, someone somewhere anywhere goes, hey, for 24 hours this game is free. You will find the link to that game in the Gamers Playground Discord. Like we're playing there. Something I'm planning on doing soon enough in 2024. I'm planning on doing a series where we will most likely be playing ray trace / path traced Halo through the whole path.
Let's do it.
I want to do that. You know what I'm saying? Yep. PCMR experiments. There's a big experiment going on where all DirectX 11 and DirectX 12 games are now fully VR compatible. So I'm going to test some of that out and put some of the stuff up there and let people know how it works. If you want some tips and tricks, troubleshooting, stuff like that, we have a section for you. So AKA join the Discord. There's a lot going on in the Discord.
Guess what I was doing in the Discord yesterday? I was actually streaming Donkey Kong through Semu. All right.
Oh, wow.
I wanted to rub it in Mr. Joanna Dark's face that in 4K that you can see Donkey Kong's hair, and it's all in 4K and stuff. So, all right. So Kay, we had a conversation on Friday. A lot of our great community members talking about ARM, talking about what Xbox should do next. And the conversation tonight isn't going to be really what Xbox should do next. That's not what this conversation is going to be about. It's going to be more driven in kind of like this ARM handheld space and how PC gaming and ARM are kind of combining here. And the research that I've done, especially with these emulation devices, right? I see Android making a lot of moves, and I see these Android emulators really catching up to the PC space really fast. Okay, we're talking about things like Yuzu already available on Android, and I mean this thing launched. It feels like a blink of an eye, and within months, okay, their compatibility is going up. They're doing daily updates. They're kicking on all cylinders. All right, and it's super exciting, especially if you're a gamer that you have, like for example, this Retroid pocket flip here, as you can see, there's so many companies right now that are doing so many cool things, guys. All right, let's if you have any console gamers in here, I was a console gamer primarily about even 3 years ago. There's so much good stuff out there that you can game on, that it's sometimes it's nice to be able to kind of like stretch your legs, and one day you're playing on your Asus ROG Ally, the next day you come to your Series X. Okay, that today Prince of Persia launched for Ubisoft Connect members, early launch. You told me that you were playing it on your Series X earlier today, and then you were already downloading it on your I'm sorry, I forget the name of your handheld.
So I downloaded it on the A1 Pro, but I will say one thing though. Small bit of smoke. It doesn't have cross progression, cross save. So UB Connect has been always so good about letting you save your files and move them over, and you're playing it here and you can continue there. I played an hour on the Series X. Like, installed it on the A1 Pro, tried to launch my continued save. It wouldn't let me launch my own continued save.
That's surprising, because Ubisoft said that's one of their selling points going forward. It's cross progression.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a mistake or if something's missed, but yeah, it looks like I have to roll a new character on the PC side, which I was expecting I wouldn't have to, because UB Connect and all that. But yeah, but the game is amazing, no doubt. The game is like, wow, chef's kiss. It's so good.
Yeah. We'll definitely be talking. I know you'll be talking probably about that with Everborn come this Saturday on the Gaming Circle podcast. But also to kind of advertise our Discord one more time, we have something called Game Club, and this month's game is actually Prince of Persia. And we've invited the Discord members to join, have conversations within the game club chat, and we'll all get together in about 2 weeks. We'll set up a date so that we can just talk about the game. What are our thoughts? Where did this game deliver? The graphics, the gameplay, the characters, the stories, etc. And we can have a really good chat, just like gamers do, man. Just like we used to back in GameStop. Remember? When you used to go pick something up in midnight and you used to talk about games and just have a good time. That's kind of like what we're trying to replicate here. But Kate, all right. So we got a lot of companies doing a lot of stuff in the Android space when it comes to emulation. You have Anbernic, you have Retroid Pocket, you have AYN, not to be confused with AYANEO. That's something else. I want to talk to you. Let's start our conversation.
The AYN Odin.
Yes, let's start our conversation, right? Let's get this out of here, and let me pull this up here. Let's start our conversation with some goodness that Mr. Joanna Dark actually told me about. Give me a second here. I'm just looking for. All right, share screen. Here we go. Did you see this, Kay?
No, I see hold on. There you go. And yeah, sure. There you go. Let's see what you got.
Did you see this big announcement from AYANEO?
I did. Yes, I did. The AYANEO Next, the Next Lite.
Yes. So
what was it? $350 or something like that? Like something super cost effective.
Very cost effective. Here's the big news. It comes preloaded with Steam OS. Okay. Which is something that we will discuss.
We'll discuss in more detail, because when I first heard that, my eyes went. But then when you dug into the details, you're like, okay. It's a little less exciting, but still, let's talk about it. Go ahead.
We'll talk about it. But this thing, AYANEO is promising here, okay, that for about $300 to $400. I don't know if they're going to be delivering something as powerful as a Steam Deck. That's still, I don't know the specs or the tech well enough. Maybe you can speak on that. This is a AMD Ryzen 7 4800U and a 4500U. So I don't know if that falls within the Steam Deck range, but if it does, AYANEO is being aggressive, man. And let me tell you, this is exactly the Steam Deck was the disruptor in this space that did all this. 100%.
Yeah, absolutely. It is no doubt that this is Steam Deck's fault, right? This is Steam Deck's doing. Before Steam Deck, AYANEOs were $1,200 at least.
Oh yeah.
Right? They were $1,200 at least. But now, because of Steam Deck, because of the aggressive pricing, because of all the other competitors in the space, it's forcing them to, you know, take it seriously and potentially try to garner some attention. But let's throw a little bit of cold water on this. Hey, what's going on, Lucius? Shout out to you, good sir. Let's throw a little bit of cold water on this here, right? So the two bits of smoke I have, while I am excited about this, and while I think this is good for consumers, and I think this is good that AYANEO comes out and hits this, I would say there are two places where I'm still kind of looking at them with a side eye, right? One is, this is not Steam Deck OS. This is Helio ISO, which is basically somebody reverse engineered what was on Steam, like on the Steam Deck. They reverse engineered it through the community and created an ISO that you can then install, right? When you load it up, it is by and large everything Steam is, the Steam Deck is, as far as software is concerned, but it's not officially supported. It's not a real, like, hey, this is Valve, we're allowing everybody, we're working with AYANEO, you know, to be our OEM to release products. No, that would be super exciting. That's not what this is. This is them realizing, hey, we can kind of, you know, get a bit more attention, AYANEO is thinking we can get some attention by putting this on our machine. You know, it could also be because, oh, we're also trying to differentiate ourselves as a market, also trying to not be the same as everybody else, right? Because everybody's running Windows now. You got the big dogs. I would say AYANEO was first for a long time, and now no one really knows who they are because the big dog is, you know, Legion Go and ROG Ally and all of that, right? So they have to speak, they have to say something different to get your attention, and this is definitely getting your attention, right? My first smoke is, it's not official. My second bit of smoke is, as good as it is, and no doubt it is good, it is very good. Like, the software is great, you know. See, and that's where I go, Lucius. I know it's an incredible for that kind of, for $299, but here's my problem. Right? Here's my problem. Like, the ROG Ally, you know that the ROG Ally Z1 edition is about the same price.
You're talking about the 64. You're talking about the 64 gig. Yeah.
Yes, not the extreme, the standard. Like, and I looked, like, you know, this is eBay, but I'm just using this as an example. I've seen prices come down on Best Buy. I've seen, like, it's all within spitting distance at this point, right? So as exciting as it is for Aya to finally wake up and go, AYANEO to wake up and go, oh wow, it's time for us to be more cost effective, right? The secondary market kind of has already built up around it, and it's within spitting distance of it. And by the way, the SoC they will be using to make this thing cost effective, right, will most likely not be as powerful as some of these used second-handers you can find. That's the issue. You see what I'm saying?
Okay.
Right. So if you find something that's like a 78, the 7840U or whatever out there, a used one, that will smoke this device all day, every day, right? And because this environment is iterating so quickly, today it's $700. When they replace it next week, another device has replaced it, and that $700 device is now 4, is now 3, is now 2. You know what I'm saying? Because they're iterating quickly, right? So
let me ask you something. Let me ask you two questions then. Coming off on what you're saying. So are we saying here that obviously for the money, right? Because again, for price to performance, do you think that the Steam Deck and even the ROG Ally, the non-extreme one, gonna completely blow this thing out of the water?
I mean, the non-extreme Z is probably right in line with this one. I have to look a little closer, but I think it's the 7640U, I think it is.
Yeah,
I think
because
it's
right,
the lesser
right.
tier, right?
These are the 4800U and the 4500U.
40 and 45. There you go, the 45.
Yes.
So
Yes.
yeah, so the non-Z would smoke this guy. I mean, the non-extreme would smoke this guy, because remember, it's the same company that makes them both, right? And the same company basically took the 7840U, right? And they took out a few instruction sets and made the Z1 Extreme. Right. So there's Mr. Joanna Dark. The 76 is basically the Z1 without the Extreme.
Gotcha.
Right?
Okay.
It's all in line. So that is a non-extreme Z, right? And oh, by the way, if you go to the store, if you go right now and go look for it, you'll find them non-extreme Zs for a ridiculously priced, because the mistake that I think they made was promoting the Z the Z Extreme far too much, so nobody wants the non-extreme Z.
Yeah,
so
no,
even though the non-extreme Z is $399 or whatever, it's being sold for like $250 on discount.
Yeah,
in some places.
I really haven't heard of anyone or seen any reviews on that device, to be honest with you. No
Well,
idea.
I've seen some reviews.
I have no idea what it can do. I have no idea.
What they should have done was promote the non-extreme Z for a while, and then add the Z1, the Extreme, on top. But they started with the big banger, got everybody to buy that big banger. What do you think everybody's going to do when, oh, this is a lesser,
Yeah.
So that's where I feel they might be a little too late, because it's like the market has now saturated with a specific kind, and it's so much so that every time a new iteration comes, the last version drops in price and drops in price and drops in price. So much so that this guy, being new and great, don't get me wrong, in a bubble, great price, great device, 100%. But all these other devices are out here going to eat its lunch, because they were 800, 700, 600, and now they're dropping to this, right? So why would you want to buy this instead of buying that with a 4,700 watt hour battery, when some of these things have 50 and 60, right? And they just happen to be cheaper because they're older, right? It's I don't know. What's exciting to me about this is AYA is finally learning. AYANEO is finally learning that the race is to the bottom and not to the top. And to me, that's super exciting, right?
I agree with that, because this device, look, the one thing, whether it ends up releasing and it doesn't do well for them, the one thing that excites me always about, a company is when they're aggressive. And this is aggressive.
Absolutely.
This is them saying, we're going to release something at a price point where we're going to make you think about it. And maybe even get some impulse buys from the tech community. Maybe.
That's right.
Okay?
Absolutely.
Because
now here's my question. Ooh, and oh, by the way, just so you guys see, like, I'm not posting it, but here's an open box ROG Ally 512 Z non-extreme for $212.
Wow.
How can you buy this when the non-extreme Z is $212?
If you care,
it's a problem.
I guess if you care about just the 7 extra watts of battery and the, I don't know. There's a market out there for everyone.
But here's the problem, though. Here's the problem. The non-extreme Z is a known commodity. Yeah. People walk into a Best Buy, they can touch it, they can feel it, they can go, oh, I know whether I like it or not. AYANEO is this obscure thing from China that'll show up if you choose to pay for it, right? That part really is a debilitating factor for most people.
Yeah,
right?
they're at a disadvantage there, big time. Yeah. There really are. I think that this definitely is for enthusiasts at the moment.
It's for me, yes.
And their market right now is for enthusiasts, and I'd like to see. Look, one thing that I like about them, and I'll show you kind of like around, because we all know they are making some cool stuff here.
Oh,
they have this flip that's coming out that looks awesome. They have this that if I literally had the bucks right now, I would drop and I would get it, because this right here,
I'm partial to the slide, bro. The slide. Look at that slide. I love that thing, man. That thing looks like a sidekick from back in the day. I used to have a sidekick. That makes me want to buy one immediately.
Remember that sidekick with the little flip? It would flip.
It's like the same kind of thing. It's the same kind of thing. It's awesome,
So I know that a good community member of ours, is getting the flip. I'm very excited to hear his feedback on it.
Yep.
Not the flip. I'm sorry, the slide.
The slide. Yeah.
I also know that the flip, okay, it's made for just that 3DS DS emulation. I mean, you got the both screens there. I'm sure that would be a dream. And I saw Arthur 1. We're not posting anything illegal here. We are talking legal emulation.
Hey, Arthur 1. Let's not get it twisted. Emulation is very legal.
Yes.
Very legal. What's not legal is grabbing binaries or posting binaries to the internet, right? You can rip your ROMs and play your stuff all day. And there are extensive lessons on how you can rip your ROMs both on Switch, on all these other devices. So
absolutely,
it is definitely possible.
Absolutely.
Do they like it? No, but who cares if they like it or not? It's still legal.
But what I wanted, not only did I want to talk to you about many things tonight, Kay, about just the emulation scene on Android and Windows and ARM and all that good stuff.
Well, but before we move on, though, sir, there is a piece to the AYANEO, this specific story, that I really want to dig into a little bit with you.
Sure. Yeah, go ahead.
And that part is them pre-installing that unofficial Steam Deck OS, right?
Yeah.
That is super interesting to me. And I really want to take it there, because I was actually even talking to Everborn about this like not too long ago. I feel like in this handheld space, there's a lot of excitement, right? It's a fledgling market. It's a small market. It might have hit maybe 1 or 2 million users by now, because these guys have been selling it in small, wow, that's a lot of ROMs, bro. That's a lot of ROMs.
Yes,
I mean,
it is.
I'm sure I have more ROMs than you, because I have about 32 terabytes full of ROMs, but that's a lot of ROMs, homie. Yes. Anyway, I'm building my home server again.
Be careful, okay? There's people out there that have a direct line to Doug Bowser.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, and Doug Bowser will be knocking at a door.
So, to the point, what I'm excited about, why I'm excited about what I'm excited about, is the fact that I feel like this fledgling market is ripe for for somebody new to take over, right? It hasn't sold that many units right now, because, to buy a Steam Deck, you have to go to Valve. You have to literally go to Steam's website. Who goes there unless you're a gamer? Right?
Well, I don't want to correct you, but I have seen the Steam Deck at GameStop.
It's starting to be sold at GameStop.
But still, it's still a novelty store.
It's starting to get there. Yeah. And that's a recent occurrence, by the way. For a long time, it was only on Steam, on Steam's website, Valve's website, and now they're going more into the game stores, which is fine, right? Which is great. But I guess what I'm saying is, I feel like Microsoft is not fast enough with its turning it around, right? And if they are not fast enough, and Valve does decide, oh, okay, here's the official supported Valve OS, have at it, that will change the fundamental ground beneath the feet of this environment drastically. I think so. People don't like Windows in this space. They tolerate it because no one has a choice. Right? If you're in the Valve side, obviously you have to deal with their store, but talk to anybody who's used a Steam Deck, right? Anybody, and they will tell you that the Steam Deck user interface and user experience is way better than even Microsoft's currently.
It is 100%. It is.
And I have fought the good fight against people who have fought me against me about this specific point, but even they turn around and come back and go, yeah, I see it now, right? So if Valve goes, okay, what do you call it? Ohms, my partners, Lenovo, HP, AYANEO,
Asus,
Asus, all these other guys, right? Here is our open source, not even open source, but specific for OEMs. Go ahead and load this onto the next ROG Ally. Go ahead and load this onto the next Legion Go, the next whichever device. The MSI Claw comes with this. It could really change things. It could really upend what people know today, right? And I was talking to Everborn. He was like, it won't, even though that may be the case, it won't change the environment drastically enough, because the tyranny of default exists, and Microsoft has enjoyed being the default for so long. And I don't disagree on that, right? But that battle of Windows versus Linux has never had a chance. They never stood a chance. They could never even get out of bed, let alone start the process of running to then walk to then fly to then defend against Windows, right?
But they have a chance here.
I'm not even saying that. I don't even think that this changes everything, but specifically in the small niche market that is gaming, in the small handheld space that has excited people to the point where I have an ROG Li, I have a Steam Deck, I have a Steam Deck OLED, which is broken, that I got to fix.
We'll talk about that
A1
offline. Pro. Yeah,
we'll talk about that. Yeah, and I have an A1 Pro. Like, this environment is ripe. And if Valve jumps in, that could really throw something into the works. Like,
I got two things for you.
My question. Yeah, go ahead. What you got for me?
First, I don't know how you're standing when you lost your knees this Saturday to Everborn about that Steam Deck OLED, okay?
Technically, I have not lost my knees because I have not bought it yet. But that's neither here nor there. Continue.
But I think, and I know that you were going to ask me a question about this, but I think that the two biggest hurdles that Valve has, number one is compatibility, because if you give people a reason to still have Windows, they're still going to use Windows. So you need to remove any need at all to have Windows, and that I don't know if they can attain it, but that needs to be 100% compatibility or as close to possible. Okay.
And I mean, right now they're getting there. They're getting
close. There. I mean, they're close, but you know, the big hitters that are left, I think, with the anti-cheat stuff is Call of Duty, that a lot of people still sideload Windows on their Steam Decks to play, stuff like that. The next one, K, is the big one here, and that's Game Pass. Is Microsoft and Xbox motivated just to have a little bit of wiggle room in this space, not to put Game Pass in Steam for this reason? Because once they do that, and they can, and Valve can figure out the compatibility and you don't need to use the Microsoft app anymore for Game Pass. That takes away the need for Windows at all. Am I wrong there?
So it's not that simple, but a lot of people, there are people that would say yes, right? Now, most people wouldn't say yes because most people are the defaults, right? They don't like, it needs to be so turnkey that it just becomes the default. And by that virtue, they walk into a Best Buy and that's all they have. And then they'll switch, right? But I guess what makes this notable for me, and I'll leave it for the chat to dissuade me here. For my entire lifetime, right, for as long as I've been paying attention to this Linux versus Windows fight, Linux has never stood a chance on any front. Any front. Oh, we have this exciting new thing, Chrome OS, Chrome laptops are everywhere, Chrome devices are everywhere. They didn't stand a chance. They were just a browser. They couldn't stand a chance. People were excited about them. They showed up. They couldn't stand a chance. Oh, we're excited about Steam machines. They didn't stand a chance because they insisted that people develop for Linux. That's a no-go in today's world, right? But they've solved all of that to the point where it's not even that, you know, they need you to develop for us. You can continue developing for Windows, right? Like it's they have come closer than they ever have been to having a viable product that they then can start messaging, right? The messaging, that is the mushy middle, and that will take forever and a day. So I don't think that this is the march to Windows is over. Hell no, right?
No, of course not.
But until now, they didn't even have a product to message. They kept messaging. You know, people have been using SUSE Linux as their desktops for years. I've been using SUSE Linux to do a bunch of stuff. It's still not a real competitor to Windows, right?
I've never used Linux outside of the Steam Deck, so I have no idea even what it can do.
Well, they have now gotten it to a place where it can be your real alternative to Microsoft, right? It can be. You just have to be okay with certain concessions here and there, depending on whichever software you choose to use. Some of the big name brands may not be available for you, but you'll probably find alternatives that aren't name brand that still do the job that you want them to do. You know what I'm saying? So that's
and
cool.
A quick history lesson for me, if you know this, Why did Valve, whenever they did that, they decided to look at Linux instead of Windows? Is there a reason for that? Is it because Gabe
Yes.
just hates Windows, period, or what
So
happened here?
Gabe and Newell, Gabe Newell used to work for Microsoft,
Right,
right?
I know
But
that.
yes, but once he left, he hates the closed ecosystem, right? Because it doesn't work for consumers. It works for them, right? And because of that, he's been railing against Microsoft and trying to get them to not be so tight-lipped about it for a very, very long time. Right? That's the basis of all of it. Like, it is a closed ecosystem. It's the fight that Gabe had with Microsoft is the same fight that Epic is having with Apple.
Oh, Tim Sweeney.
Open it up. Yeah, that Tim is having with Apple.
Yeah.
Open it up. Let others play. And back in the 90s, that was Gabe versus Microsoft. Hell, that was everybody versus Microsoft. Now it's Tim versus Apple. It's the same fight.
And
the
it's funny
difference
because
is
now Microsoft is kind of backing Tim, and they're like, yeah, Apple and Android, open it up.
they used to be the evil empire. Now Apple's the evil empire. Even though a time or two, the same thing was said to them, right?
Interesting.
So that's why they're like that. And because Microsoft now has taken all of the proprietary, well, they still are very proprietary, but since they've taken away the visionaries that used to be like, you guys are coming to me, and now they have Satya in place, and he's like, look, we'll put it anywhere it needs to be, right? Gabe is far less on that tip than they used to be. Right now, they're like, oh yeah, no big deal. Microsoft is fine because they are no longer on that idea that you have to come to us and we're going to lock everything down and all of this stuff. So that's why they've changed. You know, that's why the difference in style. It's the leadership that has changed, and because of that, the operating system is like no big deal anymore. But to address a concern, a thing you brought up just a minute ago about like anti-cheat, right? People and some folks, I have said this to other people in the past, and maybe people have heard me say this. People take business cases and call them technical issues when they're not. The reason why right now anti-cheat is not on Linux is because there has not been a business case to put anti-cheat on Linux. That's why, right?
Gotcha. Enterprise kind of rules the day at the end.
It's not even enterprise necessarily. Yes, enterprise as in money rules the day, but like imagine right now this hypothetical world that the picture that I was painting, right, where Microsoft drags their feet, right, and because of that, Steam officially like greenlits the Steam OS. So
and it's
now
the
from now on,
OS of
official
every
supported.
handheld.
Yeah, it's officially ported, and now all of a sudden, overnight, maybe 2-3 million units are now being sold, and they're all the Steam OS stuff, right? That's where they are. They're all running Steam OS. You buy your AYANEOs, they come with Steam OS. You buy your A1 Pros, they come with Steam OS. Or people are just like reverse engineer and installing Steam OS on it. Do you think in that world Microsoft won't go, okay, de novo or whatever your anti-cheat software is, it's time to support it? It's easily remedied. The reason they don't remedy it is because in Linux there are far more options, right? So the cat and mouse game of anti-cheat will be stronger on Linux because you can circumvent a lot of there's a lot of ability to circumvent things there, right? But doesn't mean it's impossible. It's the same thing like Linux, like iOS and Android, right? iOS and Android, you know, people stick to iOS because by default it's hard to hack, right? And by default, Android, you can do whatever the hell you want. It doesn't mean you can't hack it. They're both susceptible. It's just one is more locked down than the other, and that's probably the reason why people are so more focused on Windows. Because on Linux side, you can easily circumvent a lot of these things. It would take a lot more effort to make those things work well, right? So for now, they're like, there's not a market there. Screw it, we're not doing it.
So what do you think? Like what? Because I feel like Valve is so far ahead of Microsoft, right? That Microsoft will really have to dedicate resources to make their own Steam, like, you know, I guess you can say interface, right? Their own OS, so that Windows is more of a friendly handheld companion than the traditional Windows, because it is a pain in the butt still to navigate it on your Asus ROG Ally. I mean, it's not the end of the world because now I'm used to it, and you get used to it, especially if you're good with PCs. But a novice, if they pick up a Steam Deck and they pick up the Asus ROG Ally, I would think that they would like the Steam Deck better. You
This
know what
is
I'm saying?
exactly my point. Yes, 100%. That is why I'm like, if Microsoft doesn't get off their butt and start walking that walk, they could find themselves behind the 8 ball, because it doesn't matter whether Microsoft has the game sewed up or not. They have the game sewed up. I have no doubt about it. But at the end of the day, when you put your hands on a Steam Deck and you play with it for a while and you're in it, you're loading a game, you're loading another game, you're just like, yo, this thing is different. This thing is worthy. Like, it is better than any other console-like interface.
Let it has so many options for custom.
Yes.
Just, I think that the best way to describe it is that it really is the my first Walkman kind of device for a PC gamer, because I learned a lot of the little things that I know now that, you know, I think back then, and I start laughing to myself like, oh, wow, like you can mess with the resolutions, you can mess with the different proton layers, stuff like that, you know, with the different control schemes. So it's true.
You want it to be really performant. Maybe you hit all you set all the bells and whistles to 100 and everything's running slow. You drop the resolution, keep everything to 100, and it looks way better now, and you can upscale it. Or maybe you don't want to drop the resolution, so you keep the resolution the same, and then you dial back some of the settings, put it to medium, and not, you have choices there, right? And I may want all the bells and whistles at 900p upscaled. You may want 1200p medium settings, and all those options are available. But if you are a console troglodyte and you don't know what those settings are, you don't want to mess with any, you just want to hit play and it does it, that's there too. It's the ultimate solution. Microsoft needs to get on the horn, or else they might threaten losing it.
How would you feel if they were, because the whole, what's going to be tough, in my opinion, for them to catch up on, K, are all those details, because they're just so far behind. But what if they were to release a big picture mode of Game Pass and just make it more friendly to cater, like, for example, if they let you add the launchers, if they let you add games, Steam games in there, et cetera, et cetera. Do you think that it's not the silver bullet? That's not what they need. But do you think that that's a Band-Aid in the meantime?
So, okay. So the best solution, and then we'll get back to more emulation specific conversation. But I would say, for those who know in this PC space here, the best solution for anybody to make, right? Like today, to be able to compete with Valve in a real way, is somebody needs to go and buy GOG Galaxy and then give it a touchscreen makeover. That's it.
Yeah.
Because the back end of GOG Galaxy is exactly what you need today. Right? A place where all launchers are represented and aggregated, right? So they don't show you what launcher, they just show you the game. Like, if I go to GOG Galaxy right now, I see Cyberpunk 2077. When I hit play, it asks me where do I want to play it. I can say I'm playing it on the console, but then I have to move to the console. Or I can say I'm playing it here. Or I can say I'm playing it on Steam. Or I can say, you know, wherever you happen to have a version of it, you can literally hit the button and it's playing there. And the number you see, right? The number you see is the aggregated number of every single iteration that you've played, not just the one on PlayStation or the one on, it's all of them in one place.
That's amazing. So, like, if you played like Prince of Persia on multiple devices, it'll aggregate them all for you.
That's right.
That's awesome.
I see Silk Sayer saying Play Night. The problem with Play Night is, and I've used Play Night. I have Play Night on my machines. I run it a lot. The problem with Play Night is Play Night depends on a lot of third-party external plugins, and as soon as one of those plugins breaks, everything's broken. Right now, Play Night and Launcher, both Play Night and Big Box/Launchbox have one problem. Microsoft just made a change to their authentication layer. So instead of you being able to log in with your Microsoft account, your Xbox account, and then everything just downloads, now it won't authenticate you. So you have to do it step by step by step. Like the minute something they make a change somewhere, it breaks everything else. Right? So Play Night is a great interface, but it has a higher learning curve because it had to be a open source thing that brought in lots of different elements from different communities. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And it works great. It works absolutely great. And I've used it many times. It works absolutely perfect. It's just not turnkey. And for this thing to work, it needs to be like that, turnkey, right?
I agree.
The only people that can do it, and I don't even think anybody should buy anything. It's just, for me, GOG has gone further than anyone else to give you that one-stop shop where everything is represented. Even
which is something
consoles
that
are represented.
which is something that I would love. You know, I need to look into it, because that's exactly something that I would love, because it's kind of like you're building your gaming resume.
Yes.
You know, and that's exactly what it is. It's aggregating all that. And for geeks like us, we love all that, all those stats and how long did I play this game for, and how many hours have I spent, how many achievements do I need? You know, did I progress through achievements on my Xbox? I don't remember. Whatever the case may be. So 100%. It's a good conversation, and I'll end it here. I do think that you are 100% correct, and I know that you and Everborn talked a little bit about it, not only in our Discord, but also in this past weekend show. I agree. Microsoft needs to kind of put a rocket somewhere, and they need to figure it out, because Valve is quickly, broadening their horizons. And I'm sorry, the Steam Deck, that's what they wanted the Steam Deck to do, and it's doing it. If Valve wanted this thing to shake up the industry, I think it really has. And of course, they would love to see their OS everywhere, so that people are buying games on Steam. So
just a quick aside. This is my GOG Galaxy setup, and as you can see, it says owned games 1,948. That represents every launcher, every console from PC to console. I own almost 2,000 games, right? And if you click on one of these, right, as soon as you highlight it, it says you own a copy on GOG, you own a copy on Xbox, you own a copy on PlayStation. Yes, I own a copy of Cyberpunk on every platform.
That's awesome.
Right? And it aggregates your score. Look at my score. I've played it for 106 hours, whereas Neo Mental, who's Boom's brother, shout out to Neo Mental, has played it for 407 hours, 70 hours.
He likes his game.
He likes his games. You know what I'm saying? But this is the aggregator. The only thing that's a problem, at least for me, the only thing that I see here that doesn't make this the solution is it's very much focused on mouse and keyboard. Click, 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 click. It's not very touch friendly, right? So if they could make this touch friendly, it would be the prime time thing I think that people are looking for. But because it's not, you know, we have other options. But yes,
yeah.
You know, that's what I think about.
So that was a good chat. That's a good little side chat that we had there about the OS. So okay, let's bring us back to the emulation talk, right? One of the things that like I really wanted to like talk to everyone in the chat, especially you, about is like just the fact, and we were kind of getting into it, that there's so many players in the space right now, and there's so many ways to emulate, right? So I went down a rabbit hole of looking at a bunch of Retro Corp's videos and devices and reviews this weekend. If you guys haven't checked out Retro Game Corp, check him out. He's a really cool, laid back guy, really knowledgeable when it comes to these types of devices, the chipsets, you know, emulation device. That's your go-to 100%. I don't think there's anyone that does it better on YouTube. 100%. So
I'd say for me, it's neck and neck between Retro and ETA. Both of them
ETA
are
is good.
You know,
ETA is good, but there's just something I like Retro.
Retro's great. I love Retro. He's so thorough.
He's thorough and just very sincere. You never feel like he's selling you something, or it just sounds like he's being very sincere when he's presenting these things. So we have let me talk to you about another company, right? That I'm kind of excited and I'm doing my research on, and that is the AYN, Odin Pro. So the thing that's cool about the Odin Pro is that the Odin 2 just recently came out. Okay. And I've been looking, the base model right now is currently sold out, and the Pro model is available, and of course the Max model. The Max is a little, we can get into pricing and all that stuff after, but this is what I want to say. Right now, the community, the emulation ARM community is giddy. And why do I say that? Because
Okay.
AYN figured out how to basically take a Snapdragon 8, okay, which is a 8th Gen 2 Snapdragon chipset that is found usually on cell phones or tablets no less than $600 or $700. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
you're
Mm-hmm.
not getting this type of chipset for less than $600 or $700.
Yeah, it's a big dog. Yeah.
And they have figured out a way to mass produce this in a handheld that it is so far the most powerful retro emulation device ever created. Okay, and that's not a stretch. This thing completely is playing Switch games easier than it should.
Mm-hmm.
This thing is playing GameCube games with no hiccups, 60 frames, widescreen hacks, the works.
Yep.
The whole PS2 library is accessible unless there's a title that just doesn't coincide well with the emulator. It has nothing to do with power. That would be the emulator's fault. Okay. And this device right here has it just has the community that is into emulation, and especially Android emulation, buzzing. And I've seen so many videos, and I want to talk to you about ARM because I know that this past Friday we were having that discussion about the future of Xbox. If they're going to go handheld, should they go with ARM? Somebody brought that up, which I thought that was an interesting discussion. And as I started looking at this emulation stuff this weekend, my brain just automatically went, I got to ask Kay all about this ARM stuff because, Kay, is it viable that ARM is where maybe Xbox is going next? And not only that, but maybe where handheld Windows machines may be heading because of their, I guess you can say, just the way that their efficiency. This thing, Kay, has, first of all, it has an 8,000 milliamp hour battery. They killed it with the battery on this thing. Okay.
Yeah.
This thing, Retro Game Course was saying that he played it on a whole flight, like without no problems, and it was still like a quarter only of battery that left. So let's talk about it, man. And he was playing Switch games, he was playing, just games, and he didn't really have to worry about that. So let's start with, first of all, where is ARM right now so that I can understand? Like, is it even a joke to think that ARM can be introduced as a serious player in the Windows gaming world? Is that even a joke for me to say, or is that like a serious thing?
I mean, in a bubble, like in a vacuum where the context has not added, where the history is not part of it, ARM is a true competitor. It's a true player. Like basically the difference with x86 versus ARM, like if you break it down at its base level, it's optimizations that can be done on ARM that can't be easily achieved in x86 without power draw, without needing so much power, right? So ARM can do a lot more with less than x86 can, right? But let's not get it twisted. x86 rules this game. It always has, and it probably will for a long time, right? Because it's not just your power and output. It's also your development environment. It's also the ecosystem that's around it, right? And ARM has had x86 has had so much. It's the difference between an electric car and a gas car, right? Electric cars, far more efficient, don't need gas, right? Able to go faster, further with less energy, right? But the spark plug market has been here for 100 years. They ain't going nowhere.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? So even though there might be benefits to going with electric, and those who know do that, right? Doesn't mean they're upending the gas market anytime soon, because the ecosystem exists for the gas market. And the ecosystem currently does not exist in the same way for the electric market. Yeah, Teslas are out there and this and that, and they are. And I'm a Tesla driver. I enjoy it and all of this. But you must investigate to make sure you good before you buy. Whereas a gas car, you could just buy because gas is everywhere, right? Same thing with ARM versus x86. Everything is built for x86 standard. It's been since time immemorial, right? Yes, ARM is here and it's on the rise, and ARM's foothold is in mobile phones, tablets. That's their foothold, and their foothold is grabbing and is rising, right? More and more of it is coming that way. But don't get it twisted. x86 ain't leaving anytime soon. Now, to the question of can we see like Microsoft most likely like maybe next generation go all in on ARM? Yeah, I think they can. Will they? Maybe. We shall see, right? And they are unique in their ability to go in ARM because for them, it's everything runs in virtual machines. Now, so you understand, virtual machines it's software that fools games into thinking they're hardware.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about this because this is very important. It's about the compatibility layer here because I understand that with the PS4 and the Xbox One and PCs and these handheld PCs that we have, like the Asus ROG Ally, they're built on this x86 architecture. They're not built on ARM at all. The Nintendo Switch, for example, is built on ARM.
Yes,
and
it's a mobile phone. It's an Android phone.
And this device that I have is also probably ARM.
Android phone, yes.
So
yes.
I think that the problem that I have to disconnect and why I can't bring it all together is because my brain are automatically thinks that ARM is at a disadvantage because I'm comparing it to a mobile type scenario to like my big rig here of my PC.
Yes.
And is that fair for me to do or no? It's fully capable.
There's a world where it's fully capable, right? Macs run ARM and are fully capable, far more in certain respects, right? But when people say that, that's also a bit of a misnomer because they had to change their fundamental architecture to make it fully capable, right? Apple went to a unified design with their what do you call it? Their memory distribution. So you don't have memory on your graphics card and memory on your processor and on your processor and your motherboard. They have one bit of memory that they share among the whole group, right? And that's not just the only optimizations. There are a lot of optimizations, right? That Apple had to do to make ARM a viable product, but it is a viable, very strong, very process performant option, right? But it's not ready for prime time because, like I said, the ecosystem right now. Let's say they switch to ARM, right? By switching to ARM, you break fundamentally every underlying operating past historical thing that you've used up until now. Right? All of a sudden you go to ARM, every piece of software you've used before doesn't work anymore. Now you must translate them, right? But the interesting thing about the idea of Microsoft going to ARM and why that may be viable is, unlike anyone else, they don't need a translation layer. They already use virtual machines, right? So when they build a virtual machine, and I know even the virtual machines that I'm talking about, it's very high level. It's far more complicated than that. I'm just being very high level right now. With the world of it being not in virtual machines, they can build a virtual machine that inside of it thinks it's an x86 machine. You understand? So
I do. So let me level set here a little bit just in case, because I'm kind of following you, but for anybody listening. So the same way that on my Xbox Series X or Xbox One or these latest Xboxes, right? I launch a 360 game or an OG Xbox game. It's launching within this what you're calling this server world that it thinks that it's an Xbox 360. It's not it's not the hardware that's brute forcing it.
No, it's not the hardware that's brute forcing it. What's happening is, well, the hardware has to have a lot of overhead. Right. And anybody in the Mac world, you guys know this. You've seen Parallels. You guys have seen, virtual PC. Basically, the hardware, like your PC here, right? Your host in this kind, you have a host and a guest. Your host has to have copious amounts of RAM, has to have copious amounts of processing power, right? If it does, then the guest, which is the virtual machine, can borrow some of the host's resources. Right. Okay. But remember, while this is going, the host must still be able to keep running. right? You can't give all 16 gigs to the guest. You can't give all of the processing power to the guest because then the host can't run, right? So in this scenario, in order for it to be successful, the host must be powerful enough to then run the guest. And in the guest, it's a virtual machine that thinks it's x86. So Microsoft could switch to ARM tomorrow, right? Provided that the hardware they give you is performant enough to where the VM inside can still perform. And then the VM still running x86 games. Problem solved. Right? So, they don't need to break away and go translation layer and do Proton like what do you call it? Valve is doing. They don't need to do any of that. They just need a performant enough ARM piece of hardware that can then run a VM that's x86.
So then, in the way that I kind of picture this is that, and I want to take this a couple of ways. So, scenario one, the next Xbox console thing is a handheld. The new development for new games is on the ARM architecture, but they're
not necessarily.
Oh, not necessarily. You're right.
Not necessarily. Because even the development environment can be in a VM that's in x86.
You're right. You are correct. Right? But let's say that, okay, so like when you launch, let's say that you launch an Xbox Series game on this new let's say it's a dedicated handheld. Let's just pretend that it is. You're going to see the same startup for the Series X through, and then it thinks that, you're playing on
then it's an x86 machine. That's right. Yes.
Gotcha. Yes. Okay. So
now,
then,
why they wouldn't want to develop on x86, on ARM moving forward is the PC market still exists.
Right.
We're not going to wake up one morning and then everybody on PC building for Steam will go to Valve, will now go to ARM. Hell no, they're still building for x86.
Right.
And the reason why Microsoft made their development environment so close to PC is because guess what? Developers didn't want to spend the extra effort and extra time developing for your special bespoke thing versus developing for PC, right? So you were losing out on games. So what did they do? They made their development environment turnkey compared to developing for PC. So if you develop for PC, which 9 times out of 10 you do, you're using a Microsoft tool because they are the name for development, right? You're using Visual Studios or whatever. So they made the process of developing an Xbox game as simple as hitting a button, right? Different profiles, you can optimize for it later, but by and large, the same code base that you're building your proper PC game with, you can run Xbox games with, right? If they go full bore ARM development, now you're going, okay, developer, screw you. Now you're back to being bespoke for me, right? It didn't work for them before. Yes, I know they got COD now. I know they got a lot more respect now. I don't think they changed their mind and go, okay, now you mother effers are going to start developing for me bespoke. No, they've worked enough to where it is turnkey for them. It's easy for them to develop for Xbox as well as standard PC. So why change it? Keep it x86. Just make sure that whatever x86 game is created then runs in a VM and can run on an ARM chip.
I got you. So talk to me about on the emulation side, to bring it back to emulation, right? The differences in ARM and x86 architecture, right? For emulation devices like AYN is in the market, Retroid, like we showed, and others. Why do you think that they are leveraging the ARM architecture more? Is it because of just the cost of it? Is it because they can keep costs down and you get kind of like a lot of bang for your buck there in that area? Because if we think about it, right, and I'll let you go now, because where I want to finish my thought is that in a world where the Steam Deck does not come out at the price it does, these things are way, way cheaper than what AYANEO was doing. AYANEO was asking for 1,000 over, and there's no way that a average consumer that just wants an emulation device can just shell out $1,000 to say, oh, I just want to run some GameCube games here. So I think that the ARM space has really given like the retro community like exactly that nice price to performance kind of world where it's very exciting, because again, I see the advancements at a rapid pace, Kay. I think that on the PC space, it I could just be me, and you correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like it took a while to really like for example, Yuzu. I don't think Yuzu was up and running as fast as it was on the Android side. Is it because they took what they learned, or what's going on?
Let me level set. Let's get this. Let's get this done. Okay.
Sure.
So x86 has been the forward momentum forever, right? And think of x86 like the mountain or the step ladder that is 4K. Think of x86 that way. What do I mean by that? Oh, you are at 1080p and you're at 1440p and you're at 4K. And as you climb, there's diminishing returns. People have been using and optimizing and trying to push processing power on 4K on x86 forever, right? And that's what's continuing to happen. Back in the Pentium days, we were using x86. Right? We have been for a long time now, right? Diminishing returns is happening because now you can't push the processor further. Yes, you can, but your heatsink is this big, right? If you see, that's why there's liquid cooled and all of this, because in order to push it further with faster, right, you need to account for all the heat. Right. So what did they start doing to diversify? They went, okay, we're not going to go faster anymore. Now we're going to do more. So instead of one processor going 3.5 gigahertz or 4 gigahertz or 5 gigahertz, no, now we have two processors and they both may not go 5 gigahertz. They may go 3.5, but now instead of one really fast dude carrying the water up the hill, you got two semi-fast dudes carrying the water up the hill. You can carry more that way. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So in the world of x86, what they're doing to diversify the situation is they're adding more cores in it. So now you have 4 cores, 8 threads, 6 cores, 12 threads, right? And the cores are the physical processors. The threads are splitting. So if it's one core, it does double duty. So that's why you have 6 cores and 12 threads. It doesn't always equal that. But that's in the x86 game. That's what they've been doing since they've been getting diminishing returns, specifically in the speeds and feeds world, right?
Gotcha.
Whereas on ARM, you do a lot more with less. The instruction sets are different, right? So it doesn't require that much heat to do what you're asking it to do. It's not a uphill ladder. It's a different way of thinking as far as computers are concerned, right? So I wouldn't think of it as ARM is stronger. It has potential to be strong if you throw a lot at it, a la what Apple is doing, right? But it's more, they're giving it different instruction sets and it's able to handle the optimizations better than what it can in x86. But don't get it twisted, right? Show me any ARM processor today and I will still show you an x86 device that will run rings around it, right? I can still play Tell Me Your Switch game, whatever, at 8K, not 4, 8K on my 4090 and my 64 gigs of RAM and my latest and greatest Intel processor. I can still like brute force like a mug. I can do crazy things because this is a mature platform. Right. The reason why Yuzu and all of those things are benefiting is, like you're saying, they have learned from their already installed base on x86, right? And added to that, the ARM side of the house isn't the same. Oh, more speed, more fast, more processor, better. It's a different kind of instruction set. So you can give it different instructions and it can perform better without necessarily needing more power to do so. You see what I'm saying?
I do.
It's a different way of expressing the same thing. And what's happening now is because that's the latest and greatest, and because x86 seems to have diminishing returns when they're going faster, now they're focused more on these other chips that do different things to get there. Now, to get x86 to get ARM to perform as good as x86, meaning to get a PC, like full PC, we're a long way. They're going to translate software wise, all that we've already described, right? But they're also going to have to start putting heat sinks in and actively cooling it if you want to do with it what you've been doing with Windows machines all this time, right?
Right.
They have far more optimizations. They are able to do a lot more with a lot less. That's true. But when you're talking at that high level of compute, you're going to probably end up doing with it the same thing you do to PCs now. So there's a world where we all shift to ARM, and now our ARM PCs have heat sinks that are monster size too, because when you have a lot more instruction, a lot more overhead, then you do a lot more with it. You know what I'm saying? So it's not to say that x86 is weak. It's to say more that x86 is the old hat.
Yeah.
And that ARM is the new hat, and they could do a lot more because there are a lot more interesting things there for developers to be able to optimize with.
Yeah. So like in thinking about it like that, right? Like you just said, why is it though that like automatically in my brain, I think that like an ARM processor or an ARM chip like
is
the Snapdragon, not that it's weak. I don't want to say it's weak, but it's just you like if
weaker
you told me,
compared to x86.
Yeah, like if you were to tell me right now, hey, I'm try to run Resident Evil 4 remake, for example, on this Snapdragon 8 compared to my 4070 and my PC setup. I'm sure that the PC setup's gonna, run rings around it, like you said.
But it doesn't necessarily mean it's because the x86 one is more powerful. Right? It's probably because the Resident Evil was developed for it.
Gotcha.
Right? If you developed Resident Evil specifically for ARM processors, right, you would do different things. You would give it different instruction sets. It would optimize differently. And because of that, it would run well. But today, since by and large Resident Evil is made for x86 processors, when they port it to ARM, it's a port. It's not the same. It's like asking why Xbox isn't getting all the great benefits when they're porting PlayStation games.
Right. Understood. And thank you so much. I think you explained it really well. Let me ask you this, right? In relation to, like, for example, to the emulation devices. I know that you have two more than capable devices. You also have like a Retroid device and the other one that you showed, the Pal Kitty.
I have the Retroid device, and I have so the Retroid is solely focused for your 2D, Sega, NES, SNES. No, that is where that
16-bit,
lives.
Yeah.
That's right. This guy is for everything above that. This is $90, ladies and gentlemen. $90.
Yeah, that's
less than $100.
The thing. They're very affordable, these devices.
And that's why, right? That's why if it was, I'm not buying $300, $400, $500. No, this is $90. This was what, when it first came out, $110. And that was expensive for this, $110, right? But this guy, anything up to say PS3 almost, it will do, right? PS2 is
PS2.
No issue.
PS2, right?
Yeah. PS3, it'll play one or two of the games, depending on what game we're talking about. If it's 2D, some games will run, right? Dreamcast swims, right? Even Switch, if it's a 2D Switch game, you could probably play it on this guy.
For sure.
It depends on what output you're looking for. And now
Sea of Stars could probably play on that for sure.
Yes. This is x86. This is not ARM.
Oh, wow. Okay. I thought that was ARM.
This is passively cooled x86. Yes.
Wow.
And this runs Linux. It runs. You could run Windows on this baby if you wanted to. Yes.
Okay. You just surprised me with that one. I didn't know that. I thought Pal Kitty was on ARM. Okay.
No, so, and this is the interface for it. So there's the various.
That's nice.
It's quite good.
That's a nice screen too.
Quite good. Oh yeah. Very nice user interface. You run it. It is easy peasy, and it just does what you need to do. You play your old games, and that's that, right?
Okay, so what I was going to ask you was, with all the devices you have and I have and all that good stuff, why do we have the need for more, man? Why do we keep on? Now I'm so invested in this ARM emulator scene that I just want to see where it's going, and I do want to pick up one of these more affordable devices and see exactly where they are, because again, for me, there is not one device that is to set it and forget it. Okay,
you're right.
And like, for example, I'm on the hunt for a perfect solution for the DS and 3DS. I'm not satisfied with my current devices
Well,
because it's not the
specifically the
layout
3DS, DS and 3DS specifically requires hardware that's unique, right? All the
yes.
others are normal. 3DS and
Yes,
DS require
which
that.
by the way,
Yeah,
I already told you what the perfect device was, and
yeah,
that's that Microsoft Duo Flip that I
yeah,
saw
yeah, yeah.
somebody do
The
some
Duo.
interesting things. If you guys have that,
Surface
check that
Duo.
out. The Surface
Yep,
Duo, check that out, guys. If anybody
yep,
owns that, that's awesome for 3DS emulation. So,
yeah.
are you as invested as I am right now to see what in the Android space, how far these emulators are being pushed? Because, like, for example, I was doing research and I saw that the SEMU guys and girls were saying that we can't expect SEMU for another year plus because of just some technical talk that I couldn't really understand.
Hmm.
I don't know if we'll ever be in a world where RPCS3 comes to ARM. I don't know if we'll ever be in a world where
Oh,
Xenia comes to ARM.
I would not be
ARM.
surprised if every single one will have an ARM variant soon enough. They all will. I would not be surprised, right? And it's not about strength, right? It's not about a step ladder. It's not a step ladder of strength. It's not that, right? It's different instruction sets. It's a different method. It's a different language, if you will. It's not a progression as in, well, you have a bigger, more performant one so you can do better. Nope, not necessarily, right? Because there are some instances where you'll run a Switch game on a big monster rig and it'll barely go over a certain frame per second. But then you'll run it elsewhere on a machine that's far less performant and it's lickety split. Why? It's different instruction sets, so I wouldn't be surprised if we see all of those emulators eventually come to Android, because Android is the name of these, is the underlining operating system for all of these kinds of hardware.
Yes. You have also Apple throwing their hat, in the ring. I mean, I don't think that in the history of gaming there has ever been a time that you can game on so many different devices across the board. Like it's a gamer's plethora of just
It's almost
devices.
a gamer's playground, if you will, of devices.
There you go.
Devices.
Which, by the way, I'll plug it again, guys. Join our Discord there so we can continue chats like this. But Kay, we're coming up on an hour and a half, brother. What do you got?
Before we go, right? And we tend on this channel to provide, people with what I would call tips and tricks. Sometimes hey, have you checked this website? Have you checked this out? Have you checked that out? Before we get out of here, right, because we've been talking about emulators, I want to present, I'd say 4 of my go-to emulators, and then one honorable mention. Let me see here. One honorable mention. So let's start this up. So before we get out of here, we've been talking about emulation. We've been talking about all this stuff, right? I know a lot of people will go, look, man, there's a lot of research to be done before emulation can be done properly. There's a lot of very custom things that need to be dealt with before you can deal with any of that stuff. I get that, right? Stop it. So how do you get this emulation stuff going without necessarily doing what Mr. John Wolf did, which is like all this extensive research? Well, there are new things in this environment to help you. These are retro front ends, if you will, emulation front ends. And they all tend to be open source. Some of them you have to pay a little bit for if you want to get more extensive features. But let's check it out. Let me show you some of the stuff we're doing here. Hey now, don't say that now. You're gonna put a tear in my eye. I was part of that group.
Yep, me too.
I was part of that OG group, sir. I have my OG modded box over here. Maybe one day I'll bring it out and show people. I have my OG modded Xbox.
Pause. Wait a minute, you'll whip it out. What was that? Pause. Okay. Me too. For Q. I had my OG Xbox modded, and yeah, man, I had a bunch of emulators.
I still have mine. Well. Yes, I still have mine. So for those who want to test the waters in emulation, maybe you're a little entry level. Maybe you don't want to go download a bunch of software and start fidgeting, and you might be wrong, and you don't know what to do with the software. I recommend using some of these front ends, right? So one of the big, most popular front ends, RetroArch. You can download this on anything and everything. You go to retroarch.com, look at all the various platforms it's on. Hell, it's even on, like, you, if you really want, you can even get it on Xboxes, right? Look, on the series consoles. Like, you can get it anywhere. Look at where it's available.
Which, by the way, if you guys don't know, the Series S is a hell of an emulation device.
Hell of an emulation device.
Look it up.
That's right.
ETA Prime has great videos.
That's right. Yes. So, as you can see, look at all the various platforms that you can install this on, right? Your Windows machine, your phone, your console, whatever you want. And these guys emulate turnkey from your OGest of OGs all the way to like PS2, PS3 almost. I'd say comfortably PS2, right? It does a bunch of stuff. It even has Switch emulation. It has PS3, but it's not as straightforward, right? But this is one of them. So, good recommend from me. Another one is the Pegasus front end. Now, I laugh a little because when I say Pegasus, I know some people will assume I'm talking about the hooved persuasion. No, I'm not talking about
this one. This one only has PlayStation games on it, right? That you can only emulate PlayStation bangers on here.
But these are all these are all meant for your ROG Ally, any of your Windows-based handhelds. You can literally install this thing. It will aggregate all of your content, and when you boot it up, this is what you're seeing. And you could change the front ends to many different kinds of front ends.
Oh, that Captain America game is amazing, dude.
Yes, it is. Like Captain some of the retros. Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the Pegasus being a second one. Emulation Station, another one.
Oh, yeah.
A really big one. Like, this one is like, it's been around for a long time. Lots of people swear by it.
This is what I'm rocking on my.
This is what you're running right now. There you go. It too can run on so many things, on Windows, on Retroid, Raspberry Pi devices, Linux devices. It runs everywhere, right?
Sourdough knows the way.
Yeah. So and obviously these ones are all popular, super popular. So if you need instructions, man, they are instructions galore. Right?
And
instructions galore.
I remember that, like, when I started down this emulation journey, guys, I literally took a week of just watching videos and reading guides. And there's so many YouTubers that have guides and they point you to all the spots that you need. The only thing is that, of course, you know, there is a shady side to all of this. So always be careful on anything, on any files you may click on any, you know, guides that you may be downloading. Be careful with that stuff, guys. Be very cautious. And of course, if you have like a library of physical media, there's even guides on how to back up all your own stuff. Okay. So if you own, you know, any type of media, there's a way to back it up, guys. So there's definitely so many guides.
My honorable mention, and this is probably the one that anyone and everyone who's using a Windows-based handheld, if you have an ROG Ally, you have anything that runs Windows, you have a Legion Go, you have the MSI Claw that's going to come out soon, and you're just like, I want to emulate, but I know nothing about emulation. How do I run it? EmuDeck, ladies and gentlemen. EmuDeck. It is now available free of charge for consumers. You don't have to be part of a paid Discord to get access to it. And this is not an emulator. It's basically a set of scripts and tools that you just click and it does everything for you to bring all the emulation into Steam. Right? So when you're done, you still run Steam. You can run Steam Big Picture on your whatever device, whether it be ROG Ally or whatever, right? And then everything will be there, including your emulators, including some of these front ends. They all can run through EmuDeck. It's literally an instruction set to get all of them running on your Steam machine or whatever.
And some advice, Kay, to everyone. If you do want to get on this journey, you're never going to be satisfied. I'll tell you that right now, because there's always a new front end. There's always updates. There's always something that you need to figure out. So this is literally like a labor of love. Like, if you are like us, that we love games, of course you do, because you wouldn't be listening to this. But like, my goal is to be able to have different devices for the types of games that I want to play, and more importantly, just own as many games as I can, right? And play them the way I want to play, where I want to play, right? So
Exactly.
for me to do that, I also have to understand that this is like a labor of love that you need to kind of invest your time into, because again,
Yep.
there's so much to learn, and
Yep.
it's like you're never satisfied. Like when you think that you're done and you set up all the controls and you're here and you're there, you'll think of something else, or you'll learn something new. Like for example, you set up everything on the GameCube, then you start going down the rabbit hole that, hey, did you know that you can do updates on these games with 4K resolutions and 4K textures, and people have literally updated Ocarina of Time to look like a brand new game, and you can get that.
So here's the rabbit hole that I went down. So I went through all of this stuff, right? And I set everything up and it was beautiful. And then I went, what about the Wii?
There you go.
There's a whole section where there's a bunch of games for the Wii that have these waggle controls and basically make them unplayable on all these devices. But they're not, because there's ways around that. And every single Wii game out there that's got the weird waggle, you can play standard with normal keyboard, like standard control buttons. You just have to go through the process of learning, right?
Yep.
And that's the reason why I say stick with these aggregator emulators, because they have huge communities where all these problems have been solved. If somebody else, if you're thinking about it, it's already been solved. Oh, you want to be able to use like motion so it makes the headshots sweeter? There's an app for that, right? They have solved all of it. Oh, you don't like the fact that these old school emulation games are not like your new school paradigm where you have achievements and this and that? Oh, retro achievements exists. You can subscribe to it. And then you now have achievements on all of your old games, right?
Yep.
Like literally, there's so much to look at and to enjoy in those waters. You know, I think it's a great place to be. Quick example. This device uses gameplay from all of my emulators as screensavers. So if you don't know what to play, you could just wait long enough and it'll just start showing you all these various ones, and you can go, oh, that's fun, and you hit play and it starts playing.
It'll catch your attention, right? For sure.
Yeah, they're all about, hey, some guy thinks of some interesting thing, and either they can do it or they can't do it, and then they look to the community assists, and now we have a new plugin that everybody else can share. So the emulation space is big, and to your point, it tends to be a hobby all its own.
Yes.
Not even the games that you play with it. It's the conquering and getting that one device that has every single game you want, and it has all the clip arts and the cover arts, and you press a button and it shows you, like I have a thing where I press a button and on the top level of the OS, it'll show me, oh, GameCube, it was released at this year. It made this much money. It did like full research and development for all the front end stuff.
Exactly.
It is fun getting it to that perfect level.
It is, it is, especially you know when you, it's a labor of love, like I said, because like I have collected
simple
comics.
Answer, yes sir, yes. I'm sorry,
there
continue.
You go. No, it's okay. So like I've collected comics my whole life, Kay. You know that. You know that I've made custom books and stuff like that that I have on my shelf. This is kind of like the same idea here. The thing that I will say to end it here, emulation to me, Kay, and I think you feel the same way, is very important. Because we've seen games completely disappear, and there's no way to access these games anymore. We saw that with PT, on the PS4. People salvaged it. People have found ways to emulate that. People have found ways to remake that, And I think it's very important that this space continues to grow for the preservation of these games, because they'll just disappear one day. If Xbox decides, hey, Gears of War has a lot of controversy in it, let's just say, we're going to remove it from our storefront. You're not even going to be able to download it if you owned it before. They can do that if you want. And that's why preservation through the emulation space is not only important for that, but because of the way that you can enhance these games also.
Absolutely.
So, Kay, thank you so much, man. If you don't have anything else, I think I think that's it. This is a great show. I enjoyed talking emulation with you. People,
If you think you want to talk more about emulation, you want to get some pointers, you want to talk about, you have a device, you want to learn how to emulate it, you want to crack it open and see what cool features it can do, hang out with us in the Discord. Come to the Discord, say, hey man, I got this device, I got this thing, I want to see what it can do from an emulation perspective. We would love nothing more than to have a chat with you. Love nothing more than to get the emulation going and let's talk about it. So that's awesome. We appreciate y'all rocking with us, talking with us about all this fun stuff, and we look forward to maybe having more conversations in this realm, maybe doing some tutorials or something, depending on if the community is looking for that.
And if you guys already have some stuff set up, show off your build, man. Go to that Discord and show us your build. Let's see what you got.
That's right. Yeah. So, take some photos, show some videos. We want to learn something from you too. Absolutely.
So, Kay, before we go, where can the good peeps catch you for the rest of the week, man? And what do you got set up for this weekend in the Gaming Circle podcast? What do we got? Actually,
it's interesting. This week, I will be pretty busy podcasting. I am going to be on Him, Her, and a Guest on C Money and Doodle's channel tomorrow.
Nice. I was on there. Very good time.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I've heard a lot of people been on there. Now, I have purposely not watched the full episode because I don't want the questions to be old. I want them to be fresh. And I hear they're extensive with the questions. So I'll be on there tomorrow. I think it's 7 p.m. Eastern Standard. That's tomorrow on Wednesday night. No, Tuesday night, I should say. Wednesday, obviously, prime time with Mr. Boomstick and friends. I'll be there. And then Saturday, we have a special show this Saturday. I haven't officially started creating the thumbnails or anything for that yet, but we have the art director and combat designer, like one-man band, if you will, of the game Cookie Cutter that I was talking about. I was talking up for so long. I shot my shot. I was like, yo, man, I love your game. Why don't you come on and let's talk about it? And the developer said, hell yeah, let's do it. So next week, Saturday, he will be in the spot and we will be talking to Stefano from Italy, who is the developer designer of Cookie Cutter. And I'm excited to chop it up with him. So if you have a chance to, come check us out. We're also giving away a Series S, but I haven't worked out logistics because the developer decided to grace us with his presence. So I'm prioritizing him. But we will also be giving away a Series S at some point soon as well. So come check us out. Appreciate everybody always turning up and enjoying these conversations with us.
That's awesome, Kate. You know what would be like the ultimate wow factor and just the ultimate thing? If whoever wins that Series S turns around and tells us that they put all these emulators and they're having such a great time on it, that would be great. All right. So guys, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Thank you for interacting in the chat. We really appreciate it. As always, guys, we'll be back next week talking about some new stuff, man. We're always thinking about just the tech side of the world. That's why we kind of formatted the show to be more PCMR, but also tech talk, because there'll be some weeks that we come here and we're not talking primarily PC. We'll be talking about different things. So thank you so much, guys. 2024 is starting off really good for us, Kay. And guys, I mean, Kay, unless you have anything else, I think we're ready to go.
Absolutely. We hope you guys have a good rest of your week. You know where to find us. We'll talk to y'all soon. Peace.
Peace.